We're going in. 1. Kubrick wanted to legally own outer space. So he quietly reached out to scientists at NASA, asking them to keep him informed if anything significant was found. No news came, but the fact that he even considered securing the rights to aliens shows the extreme lengths he'd go to protect his vision. It wasn't paranoia. It was Kubrick's version of quality control, on a cosmic scale. 2. The actor who nearly quit. Over a spacesuit, Keir Dullea, who played astronaut Dave Bowman, almost walked off set during the spacesuit sequences. The suits were airtight and heavy, designed more for realism than comfort. Under the intense studio lights, temperatures soared, and Dullea often felt like he couldn't breathe. He later admitted he feared passing out inside the helmet. The crew eventually drilled tiny, almost invisible holes to let in more air, but it wasn't enough. Dullea learned to subtly lean toward hidden fans between takes, desperately gulping air before the cameras rolled again. What audiences saw was calm, calculated professionalism. What they didn't see was an actor sweating through every frame, trapped in a high-tech sauna, performing with the quiet desperation of a man holding back panic. 3. The monolith was originally transparent. The iconic black monolith, a simple, elegant rectangle, wasn't always part of the plan. Kubrick initially wanted it to be transparent and crystalline, giving it an otherworldly shimmer. A prototype was built, but when lit for the cameras, it reflected the crew and studio lights, ruining the illusion. In frustration, Kubrick ordered it replaced with a matte black structure made from wood and painted with a secret mixture to absorb light perfectly. The change was accidental genius. The opaque monolith became a symbol of mystery precisely because it revealed nothing. Instead of glowing, it consumed light, and with it, any easy answers. It's a reminder that some of cinema's most powerful images are born not from intention, but from technical failure. 4. NASA helped design the film's spacecraft. Kubrick didn't just want believable spaceships, he wanted plausible ones. To achieve this, he consulted with NASA engineers and aerospace contractors. The designs for the Discovery 1 spacecraft and the Moonbus were influenced by actual concept studies for future space travel. Even the cockpit instruments were modeled after NASA's Apollo guidance systems. This collaboration blurred the line between science fiction and science fact so well that some viewers, including actual astronauts, joked that 2001 looked like a classified NASA training film. It wasn't fantasy dressed as science. It was science projected into the future, with just enough imagination to make it mesmerizing. The partnership also meant Kubrick had access to cutting-edge spaceflight knowledge, giving 2001 an authenticity that still holds up today. 5. The apes in the dawn sequence were not CGI, and not apes. The opening Dawn of Man sequence featured prehistoric apes that moved so convincingly many viewers assumed they were real animals. In reality, they were human actors in full-body costumes designed by makeup wizard Stuart Freeborn. The suits were meticulously crafted with real yak hair and fitted with animatronic masks to control facial expressions. The lead ape performer was mime artist Daniel Richter, who spent months studying ape movements at the London Zoo. He even choreographed the sequence where the apes discover tools, treating it like a primitive ballet. The effect was so convincing that some critics accused Kubrick of secretly using live animals, a testament to the craftsmanship and physical endurance required to bring prehistoric life to the screen without a single frame of computer trickery. 6. The space station's rotation. Wasn't a special effect in the age before CGI, creating the rotating space station was a monumental engineering feat. Kubrick had a massive 30-foot diameter model built, then filmed it with a specially designed rotating rig. This meant the camera stayed still while the station spun, producing a perfect hypnotic rotation without motion blur. To get the lighting just right, Kubrick painstakingly adjusted each bulb to mimic how sunlight would hit the station in orbit. The result is so seamless that even modern audiences assume it's computer-generated. In reality, it was a combination of miniature craftsmanship and meticulous patience. The model's rotation was so smooth that in the raw dailies, some crew members joked they felt motion sickness, an ironic touch, given that Kubrick's realistic approach to space travel meant even a prop could feel like the real thing. 7. The zero-gravity scenes were filmed in a giant hamster wheel. One of the most jaw-dropping effects in 2001 is the sight of astronauts walking in a complete circle, defying gravity. Kubrick achieved this by constructing a massive rotating set, a 38-foot diameter hamster wheel that spun while the camera was fixed in place. The actors had to walk in perfect timing with the rotation to avoid stumbling, which was harder than it looked. Even a single misstep could throw off the illusion and risk injury. Gary Lockwood, who played astronaut Frank Poole, later described it as running a marathon in slow motion, sideways. The set's cost nearly derailed the budget, but Kubrick insisted it was essential. He wasn't wrong. The sequence remains one of cinema's most convincing depictions of artificial gravity, all achieved through practical engineering and sheer actor endurance. 8th HAL 9000's voice wasn't the original choice. HAL 9000, the calm yet unsettling AI, is voiced by Canadian actor Douglas Rain, but he wasn't cast until after filming was complete. Kubrick originally hired actor Martin Balsam, whose warm, friendly tone didn't quite fit the sinister subtlety Kubrick envisioned. After watching the dailies, Kubrick decided HAL needed a colder, more detached quality. He auditioned several actors before settling on Rain, whose measured, almost hypnotic delivery became iconic. Remarkably, Rain recorded all of HAL's dialogue in just one day without ever stepping onto the set. The change completely shifted the character's personality, from a chatty assistant to a disturbingly calm executioner. Not replacing the voice would have meant a very different HAL, one perhaps less terrifying and more openly human. Instead, Kubrick gave us a villain whose politeness makes the danger all the more chilling. 9. Kubrick burned all the leftover props. Once filming wrapped, Kubrick ordered that many of the film's sets, models, and costumes be destroyed, not stored. His reasoning? He didn't want them reused in cheap science fiction knockoffs. At the time, studios often repurposed expensive props to save money, but Kubrick's obsessive control over 2001's aesthetic meant he'd rather see them gone than tarnished. Crew members recalled watching in disbelief as meticulously built miniatures of spaceships were dismantled or burned. While this decision preserved the film's uniqueness, it also meant much of 2001's tangible history was lost forever. Today, surviving original props are almost non-existent, making them among the rarest collectibles in movie history. Kubrick's perfectionism protected the film's legacy, but it also erased some of cinema's most impressive practical creations. 10. The premiere audience walked out, and Kubrick loved it. Get even stranger. 11. The Stargate sequence was a chemical accident. The mind-bending Stargate sequence, where Dave Bowman hurtles through surreal, shifting colors, wasn't the result of animation or early computer graphics. Kubrick hired special effects artist Douglas Trumbull, who experimented with a technique called slit-scan photography. While testing different chemicals and lighting patterns, Trumbull accidentally created a mesmerizing ripple effect that looked like light stretching into infinity. Kubrick saw it and immediately ordered hours of similar footage. The process involved moving the camera extremely slowly past abstract backlit artwork, sometimes over an exposure time of several minutes per frame. It was painstaking work and entirely analog. No two takes looked the same, giving the final sequence an otherworldly unpredictability. What was meant to be controlled visual experimentation instead became a happy accident that pushed the limits of what audiences thought cinema could show in 1968. 12. The breathing sound was a last-minute masterstroke. One of the most haunting audio motifs in 2001 is the heavy, rhythmic breathing inside the astronauts' helmets. This wasn't originally in the sound design. Kubrick added it late in post-production after noticing how sterile and emotionless the space sequences felt without a human element. Sound engineer Winston Ryder recorded the breathing by having actors wear actual space helmets and breathe normally into sensitive microphones. The result was intimate and claustrophobic, every inhale and exhale reminding viewers that these astronauts were fragile humans in an indifferent void. This small addition made scenes more tense, grounding the abstract visuals in human vulnerability. 13. Real-life astronauts. Studied the film for training. While 2001 was still in theaters, NASA astronauts reportedly attended private screenings to study its depiction of zero-gravity movement and spacecraft interiors. The film's commitment to realistic motion in space was so ahead of its time that it became an unofficial training reference. This was thanks to Kubrick's insistence on consulting aerospace experts for every detail, from the mechanics of rotating habitats to the use of Velcro in microgravity. Astronauts later admitted that 2001's portrayal of life aboard a spacecraft helped them mentally prepare for long-duration missions. It wasn't meant as a manual, but the film's authenticity blurred the line between fiction and education. The fact that a work of art was credible enough to be used for real-world preparation says everything about Kubrick's obsessive accuracy. 14. The famous match cut. Took weeks to perfect. The bone-to-satellite match cut, where a prehistoric tool is tossed into the air and morphs into a spacecraft, is one of the most famous edits in film history. But it wasn't as simple as swapping one shot for another. Kubrick and editor Ray Lovejoy spent weeks testing different angles, speeds, and positions to make the transition feel seamless and symbolic. The bone had to spin in just the right rhythm so the audience's eye would follow it naturally into the spacecraft. That single cut condenses millions of years of human evolution into a few frames, making it one of cinema's most powerful moments. Behind its elegance lies endless trial and error, proof that sometimes the simplest visual ideas require the most painstaking precision to truly resonate. 15. Kubrick considered a narrator, then cut it. Completely early drafts of 2001 included narration explaining the story, characters, and themes. Even NASA scientists were interviewed on camera for a documentary-style opening. But during editing, Kubrick decided that any direct explanation would limit the audience's interpretation. He scrapped the narration entirely, forcing viewers to engage with the visuals and draw their own conclusions. This decision baffled MGM executives, who feared audiences wouldn't understand the plot. Kubrick didn't care. He wanted a film that worked like a visual symphony, not a lecture. The removal of the narrator transformed 2001 from a standard sci-fi epic into a cinematic riddle, one that invites debate and analysis decades after its release. Not explaining was, ironically, the most powerful storytelling choice he made. 16. Kubrick feared the moon landing. Would ruin the film. 17. The set fire that nearly destroyed the film. In early 1966, disaster struck when a fire broke out at MGM's Borehamwood Studios in England, damaging several of 2001's elaborate sets. The blaze started in a storage area for construction materials and quickly spread, fueled by the flammable paints and fabrics used for the space station interiors. Crew members risked injury hauling out expensive models and camera equipment before firefighters arrived. Production was delayed for weeks while the sets were rebuilt, costing thousands of dollars. Kubrick, ever the perfectionist, refused to use any props or backdrops that had been smoke damaged, even if they appeared fine on camera, but ensured the film's pristine look. Without that stubbornness, the film's immaculate production design might have carried subtle, unintended scars from the fire. 18. A hidden tribute in the spacesuit. Colors. The distinctive red, yellow, and blue spacesuits worn aboard the Discovery One weren't just for visual contrast. Costume designer Hardy Amies revealed years later that Kubrick chose the colors as a quiet nod to the three primary colors of early color television. At the time, color broadcasting was still relatively new, and Kubrick wanted to subtly acknowledge the technology that allowed audiences to experience his vision as intended. Each suit also symbolized different aspects of the mission: red for alertness, yellow for caution, and blue for stability. The symbolism was never meant.